Thanks everybody for coming. We'll have a couple more coming in just a minute. Pretty serious time. You know, this administration's created a bunch of firsts for this country. Over 10 million illegals. Violent crime, 37%, rape, 42%, robbery up 63%, fentanyl everywhere, gas prices, record highs for a long length of time. Our military is being destroyed from within. Our three-letter agencies are having huge problems. They're being weaponized. The world's in absolute chaos. This administration is setting records of incompetency. Congratulations, if that's what they're trying to do, because they've been able to accomplish that. And now, after multiple assassination attempts, they can't even give the former president and possibly future president security he and his family needs. It's absolutely ridiculous. This isn't surprising. We have a huge mental health problem in this country. But when you hear on TV and the radio and on social media about this guy's a Hitler, this guy's a fascist, he's a threat to democracy, what do you expect? All you have to do is look at some of these tweets I have here from some of our so-called politicians. And then you got people like Hillary Clinton, George Clooney, Joy Reid, Robert De Niro, wannabe politicians, and it's time for them to shut up, because somebody is going to get killed other than the fireman that got killed already in Pennsylvania. Mentally ill people hear this violent, dangerous rhetoric, and we're going to have a copycat. It's coming. And it's just unfortunate. Somebody's going to get killed, even after the fireman in Pennsylvania. So, what's it going to take? 66 days ago was the first assassination attempt. What have we learned? Zero. And we don't need some 10,000-word report. We just need to know what happened and how do we fix it. We up here have no clue of any information of what's happened. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris care anything about this country, they need to immediately grant President Trump as much as they possibly can the security around he and his family. One thing about President Trump, he's different. He doesn't work 6-8 hours a day. He's going to work 14, 16 hours a day. You're not going to stop him from going to outdoor events. He's also going to do more than one event, sometimes 2 to 3 events a day, and you can't do it with just a basic group of Secret Service. It can't happen. You have to, and we have to give him more support, whether it's Rangers, whether it's Navy SEALs, whether it's more DHS. I don't care. We got 48 days. And if we have something disastrous happen in this time frame between now and the election, we know what could happen. We need to take care of this president. Again, he is different. He's actually going to do his job. He's actually going to go out and do his campaigning. He's not going to sit in the basement. He's going to do what he needs to do. Folks, we're in Defcom 1. And up here on the Hill in the last few days, I don't feel that. I don't feel the need for, a sense of urgency. The Secret Service has to lay the law down to the people here in Congress, say, we got to give help. I hear the Secret Service or the FBI director or the regional director down in South Florida about, he's not the sitting president. We all know that. But he's had 2 assassination attempts. My God, wake up and smell the roses. We've got to do something. Let's don't wait till it's too late. We are not a third world country, and I guarantee you third world countries give better protection to presidents and former presidents than what we do, and that's a shame. So hopefully we get something done in the near future, because we don't need a disaster on our hands, and this is serious, because there's so much love for this president across the country about how hard he works. This administration is responsible for protecting him. That's very unusual when you have a former president having to ask the present administration that he's running against for protection. It's their time to put up and shut up.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. What appears to be open season on presidential candidates you don't like. Last week, President Trump warned us on the debate stage about the hatred and lie being spread by the left and the mainstream media, making him a target. Now another attempt has been made on his life. Now, what was the media's response during the debate? They brushed it off. AB said, moving on. Let's move on. Well, folks, we're not moving on. The Republicans in the House and Senate are not moving on. We'll fight until President Trump is protected and people realize the danger of inciting violence through their rhetoric and their irresponsible reporting. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and others have repeatedly labeled Trump a threat to democracy, fueling a very dangerous narrative. Now, why wasn't this assassination attempt major news? Why did the major TV stations not break from their regular coverage? If it had been Kamala Harris, would the media have remained silent? America has become a powder keg of political violence, pushed to the edge by media, big tech, and inflammatory campaign ads. And we're now reaping the consequences of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's lawlessness. Their open borders, their cashless bail, their defund the police policies, and the unchecked riots. So we are calling for immediate action, and that's why we sent a letter today to Director Rowe from the Secret Service. 7 members of the Senate have signed that letter. We're asking him to give Trump the same protection as a sitting president. And I call on all the media, especially the legacy media and big tech, to turn down the rhetoric, stop attacking, stop censoring, and report the truth.
Donald Trump nearly lost his life. This is not the first time it's happened in the last couple months. It's the second time. This was a tragedy that fortunately was forestalled. This gunman, Mr. Ryan Ralph, decided it would be a good idea to hide and wait for him, knowing that he was going to be golfing that day, apparently having been tipped off somehow, hid himself in the bushes. And he had a GoPro and a military-grade weapon ready to be fired. Fortunately, a Secret Service agent apparently saw the barrel of the gun and fired shots before shots were fired, and Mr. Ralph fled. But this came way too close for comfort. I don't think it's lost on anyone that had it been the sitting president of the United States golfing that day, the gunman wouldn't have gotten anywhere nearly that close, and it certainly anywhere close enough to have been able to carry out the attack. This guy was. He was within 500 yards, and it's very fortunate. We should all be grateful and uttering prayers of gratitude that it didn't end worse than it did, but it still came way too close. It's understandable that we offer a really high level of protection to sitting presidents of the United States. There are all kinds of reasons why the sitting president needs a large amount of security. But whereas here you've got a presidential candidate, the Republican candidate, the last standing impediment between a continuation of the current administration through Vice President Harris being elected this November, Donald J. Trump is the sole potential impediment to that. Where that circumstance exists and especially where that candidate has now been the intended victim of 2 nearly successful assassination attempts, it's time to really increase his security detail, if necessary, to the same level or a comparable level to that enjoyed typically by the President of the United States. That isn't too much to ask, and in fact, it's a real misjudgment that would result in anything less than that. It's also important to remember the sort of environment in which this sort of thing tends to thrive. When Donald Trump is repeatedly characterized by, among other people, Kamala Harris as a threat to democracy, saying things like democracy is on the line, not just good policy is on the line or my kind of government is on the line, but democracy itself is on the line. And Donald Trump is a threat to that democracy. Those things have their intended effect. When they